Hello, everybody. Howdy. You guys, can everybody hear me okay? Yes. All right, splendid. Figure we'll wait a few more minutes to make sure everybody's here.
You have like 5 minutes.
Hmm?
You got like 5 minutes.
Got 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes. Everyone relax.
Is this your tie?
Relax.
No.
Oh, no, that is not my tie. I know that because it doesn't have any monsters on it. Put this right here. Doodle doo. Yeah, if there's a microphone, then if there's a microphone over here, I shouldn't have any trouble anyway. With-
This is the microphone they're going to use.
Right, yeah, if I have a microphone, then I don't think I'm going to have any trouble. So it'll be good.
It's fun seeing whatever heinous situation we have. Like, how short? It's like the mic is down here. It's like, was this a child? Was this a child?
Thanks. Oh, there's the rest of that sentence. So I hope everybody's having a great evening. Doing all right? Good. It's everybody, spending a lot of money on the in the artist alley. Yeah.
My wallet is not happy.
No. I don't.
Right.
But I got a lot of cool stuff, though. My wallet's not thrilled, but I got a lot of really cool stuff.
Sometimes it's all that matters. Sometimes.
Exactly. Gesundheit. What's that?
What did you get from the marketplace?
Oh, what did I get in the marketplace? Well, I got some really great prints, but my favorite thing so far is the Okami hoodie that I just picked up. I am really happy about that. I recommend them. It was really cool. What about you guys? Did you pick up anything interesting?
I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm going to get this belt with a really, really weird metal buckle on it that has like the DDR arrows.
Oh, that's awesome.
Completely sick. It is awesome.
That is cool. I like that. That's gonna look great, I think. Oh, nice. I like that. Very cool. That is both stylish and delicious. That's what I like about that. All right, another couple of minutes just to make sure that everyone's here and situated. Oh, thanks. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you know, it's important to be flashy. You know. Oh. Oh, is it RGB? I think it is actually.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Blue coming from the back of the laptop.
Right. Yes. No, it's a great gamer's laptop. It's terrific. You know.
Thanks for coming here so late in the evening for this panel, by the way.
Right. Oh yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. I'm happy to be here.
I'm in a bit of an interesting spot, so I'm excited to get
Oh, hey. Good to see you.
I didn't know you were running this panel.
Oh, yeah. Surprise. Oh, that's great. It's great to see you guys. I do. I teach game design and animation at George Mason University.
George Mason?
Yeah. Yeah, in the game design program.
Where is George Mason?
Oh, it's in Fairfax. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's right here in Fairfax, Virginia.
Carolina. And
Oh, really?
there are no game design programs in like any college there, and 90% of the ones that have game design programs are just computer science degrees with a little bit of pizzazz, and they call it game design. And then I read the courses and I go, no, it's computer science. Leave me alone.
No, yeah.
They like to disguise a lot of game design classes as like, they just teach C#.
Just basic.
Oh, right.
To be fair, it helps.
I had a college try to pull off a cybersecurity major as game design. And
Really?
I emailed them and I was like, hey, this is, not in strong words, but like, you're misleading students here.
Yeah, that seems to be a little bit of a stretch. Yeah. Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm really glad to see you guys. So what we're going to talk about here is we're going to talk about how to prep for that first job in the game industry, how to promote yourself, and how to look for jobs, and how to and how to get yourself noticed by industry professionals and by companies. So that's going to be our focus tonight. So how to prepare for job hunting in the game industry. Now, so quick question. Who here wants to make games? I'm so shocked. Look at that. So that's good. It's great to see that. I'm glad to see that so many people are interested in doing this, because it's so creative and it's so much fun. The game industry, as it says here, the game industry is no longer a small niche. I mean, it's funny how the video game industry can be small and it can be huge. It's got a lot of it's got a range, but it's definitely in the mainstream these days. And that can feel kind of intimidating. It can be a little daunting to try and figure out how you can get involved in game development. How do you break in? How do you get experience? How do you make a portfolio? How do you interview? What do you do? How do you talk to an employer and convince them that you are the person they're looking for? That's what we're going to discuss tonight. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Eric Piccione, and I am currently I am I'm the associate. I'm an associate professor at George Mason University, and I'm the associate director of the game design program there. But I came to higher education through video games. I've been working in video games in one capacity or another for 31 years. I know that dates me, but that's a long time. Yeah, I know it's kind of frightening. But I had 20 years actively full time in the game industry, primarily as an artist. I'm an animator. I'm an artist by trade, and over the course of my time working in the industry, I worked my way up up from just like an assistant environment artist through character design and through motion capture and through all the way up to art director at Electronic Arts, which was really cool. And so over that time, I had the good fortune to sit in pretty much every seat in the art team at one time or another. And that's what I'm bringing to the table here. I want to introduce you to what I've done so that you understand where I'm coming from when we talk about what we're talking about tonight. And before that, before video games, I was a comic book artist. So I drew comics. And so what I did was I came from the traditional pen and paper, ink, brush world, and worked my way into the digital realm. Yes?
Have you ever used Newgrounds?
Use what now?
Newgrounds.
I probably should mention I am hard of hearing. I've got hearing aids. So if I ask you to repeat yourself, it's just because they're past their warranty. So say that again.
Newgrounds.
Newgrounds. No, I haven't. Do you recommend it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Newgrounds.
Yes.
That. Oh yes, please. Yeah. I know we're starting Q&A a whole lot early, a lot earlier than I expected.
Yes, I think every single game artist ever and anyone interested in art ever should leave and abandon Twitter and go to Newgrounds right now and stay there, because it's kind of the best social media for artists, and it's a really good way to get outreach and get like beginner voice acting art jobs. It's a good way to showcase your animations. It is just a social media entirely built around art and animation and music, and it is kind of the last bastion on the internet for like free art. It is beautiful, genuinely.
That's great. No, I will check that out. No, I'm glad you mentioned that. And yeah, the reason why I didn't hear what you were saying was because I hadn't heard of it. But that's great. No, I want to look into that because I want to know what people are using.
It is where Line Writer came from, the game Line Writer.
Oh yeah.
That's where that came from.
Oh really? Oh, that's interesting. That's right. Oh yeah. Well, we should keep going. But that's good. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna check that out. So what I did was I came from the traditional pen and paper background, and then I converted over into the digital realm, which is easier than you might think. It's all about in terms of digital versus. I'm not talking about AI, generative AI, or anything right now, but in terms of digital tools versus traditional tools, they're all tools. And so you can actually transition over to it, and it's not as hard as you might think. But that's where I come from. Here's some stuff I worked on, by the way, because people always ask. So yeah, I worked on all those. Plus, these are only the ones that went to launch. Regrettably, they don't include the stuff that never made it to launch, which is sad. It's very sad. There's so many games out there that never make it all the way to the finish line for one reason or another. It is what it is. Yes.
Did you get to meet Todd Howard?
I was present when he was hired. Yeah, I know Todd very well. Todd and I go back a long way. He and I worked we worked on Daggerfall together, and Todd and I, we pitched a superhero game years. He and I, because he's a superhero fan, just like I am, and we pitched a superhero video game together years before it became popular. Apparently, it was too soon, and it got shot down. But these things happen. But I have stories.
The question asked was, do you know Todd Howard?
Yep. So all right. So what's going on in the game industry anyway? What's happening right now? A lot of people are nervous, and that's understandable, and they should be. These are nervous times. The past couple of years have not been great when it comes to looking for jobs in the industry. And there are several reasons for that. There's the post-pandemic slowdown. That's hard to say. There's rising development costs, which is very true. Mergers of major companies, and whenever mergers happen, chances are there are going to be layoffs, and that affects the industry as well. A number of high-profile games not meeting expectations. That's been happening for the past couple of years. Concord, excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry for that. And lots of other factors. There are lots of reasons why things are not going particularly well in terms of getting jobs in the industry right now. But like other industries, these things are cyclical, and this is the thing that a lot of people don't really think about. They think about how bad things might be right now, but this is a cycle, and I've seen this happen before. In every decade or so, it comes around like this. Things can be tough, but does this mean that games are dying? I've heard a lot of people ask that question, and the answer is no. This does not mean that the game industry is dying. As a matter of fact, the game industry is booming right now. As you can see here, game developers are still in high demand. The number of players worldwide in 2025 is estimated to be 3.5 billion people, and by 2030. The amount of money the game industry is projected to make is upward of $600 billion. It is huge. It is very true. I don't know if you've heard this before, but it is true that games make more money than Hollywood and the music industry combined. It's huge. It really is. And so, so what does that mean? It means domination. That's what it means. Yes, video games dominate the entertainment market right now. And yes, that means that it's becoming tougher to get in because it's becoming more popular. More and more people want to do it, and it's becoming more crowded trying to get through that door. But tough does not mean impossible. So don't let that get to you. What you need. I know that there are certain gates that people face when they try to get into the industry. You've seen it before. Let's talk about experience. So how do you gain experience in a field where everyone requires prior experience? How do you do that?
Game jams?
Yes, it's very good. I'm going to talk about that, in fact. But yes, you're skipping ahead. That's awesome. That's true. How do you get experience when you don't? How do you get a job that requires experience when you don't have the experience to get the job? How do you start? Well, what you should do is define experience. And if you think about the definition of what experience actually means, yes, when you look at job postings, they're going to say, "Oh, we want to see 5 years of game experience." They say that. They don't always mean it, but they do say it. If you show up with something if you show up with experience that's relevant, may not necessarily be game experience, but it's relevant experience, and you can prove it, then that goes a long way. So does prior experience necessarily have to be prior employment at a game company? It doesn't. Because everybody has to start somewhere. A lot of people ask me. I use myself as an example. A lot of people ask, "How did I get in?" Now, when I get in, I mentioned that when I got into the game industry, dinosaurs were walking the earth. And it was not only a different time, it was a different century, but because it was the 1990s. But it was a different time. But my situation was a little bit unusual because, as I said, I started in comics and I moved over to games. And the first company that I worked for, which was Bethesda, the first company I worked for was looking specifically for artists who had comic book experience, because they wanted that kind of flavor in their games. And so that kind of gave me something of an advantage. So that was a little unusual. And what was interesting was that when I went in for my interview, during the interview process, the person who was interviewing me, the fellow's name was Julian LaFay. Anybody ever heard of Julian LaFay? He was a senior producer on Daggerfall, and he and he asked me. He looked at me. And he said, "You're a great guy. We just lost him a few months ago, in this past year." But he looked at me and he said, "Have you ever heard of a game called Dungeons and Dragons?" And that was the moment that I realized this was my industry. Yeah, that's okay. I have found my calling. Yes, and so yeah, it was great. But what I did was I took my original comic book experience and I adapted it to the digital medium, and that started my career. And that was great. Now, sure, it was a different time. It was probably a little easier to get in back then, but it was still kind of tough. Because they're looking for specific skill sets. And that's what it comes down to. Sure, it was a different time, but although I didn't have prior game experience, getting the job was more than just sitting in the interview telling them that I played Dungeons and Dragons like a fiend. It was everything leading up to it. It was habits, it was focus, preparation, adapting to unexpected circumstances. You've got to be flexible. You've got to adapt to what's coming your way. And the people who are most flexible are the ones who are most likely, who are more likely to land that job. So what did I do beforehand? What habits and focus am I talking about? Well, in my case, although I had no direct relevant experience, I did establish a network of colleagues in the entertainment industry. I did network, and that's what helped me get in the first place. That's what helped get my name to them in the first place. I worked to publish something and get my name on a list of credits, which is very important. That goes back to the experience we talked about. And I built a comprehensive portfolio that argued my case for me, that demonstrated what I could do. We're going to go into all of that. We're going to talk about experience. We're going to talk about how you can get your name out there. We're going to talk about what goes into a proper portfolio, what you should put into a portfolio. Now, I'm an artist, but we're also going to talk about other fields, because game development is not just art. Sorry to say, game. I know, as an artist, but game design is it's all about various teams working together to create something that's greater than the sum of their parts. And so it's not just art. It's also narrative design. It's also programming. It's also audio engineering. It's a whole bunch of stuff, and we'll talk about that. So. Let's go over 5 steps to help you get noticed, by an employer. Now, first off, 1, start by networking. Now, if you're trying to get into the industry, you want people to recognize your name, or at least say, "Oh, I've heard of that person," or "I saw that person do this once." So you want to get your name out there. You don't want to be a complete and total stranger. And so that means to start out by networking, video game discussion boards, social media groups, online portfolio. We're going to talk about that. Make a demo reel. I cannot emphasize that enough. You don't have to be an artist to have a demo reel. Programmers have demo reels. Narrative designers have demo reels. Puzzle designers have demo reels. Audio engineers have demo reels. It's a commercial that advertises you. And so that you want to think about it in those terms, because it's all about promotion. Don't forget LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great source. People go to that when they hear your name. They're going to go and see what you've been up to. So LinkedIn, getting started with that is a good idea. And of course, MAGFest. Woohoo! Woo! Woo! MAGFest or other shows, other conventions, these are all ways in which you can promote yourself. You can get your name out there. And so that way you just talk to people. And that's, because you never know when you might meet somebody who could be someone who says, hey, I have an opportunity I heard about. Check this. And that could be your key. So you should communicate. Talk to people, get your name around. 2, build your online brand. And this is all about promotion. There are some things that you can do to build a professional brand that speaks for you online. You can create online content, whether it's a blog or a Substack or videos, whatever it is. You can get something out there that people will see, and that helps your brand recognition. Become active in the community, in the gaming community. Earn a relevant college degree is another way of doing that. Pursue entry-level and internship roles at game companies or game-like companies, which leads me to number 3, which is game-adjacent skill sets. Number 3 is game-adjacent skill sets. Now, skills overlap, and so it doesn't have to be your skills that you bring to the table, even though those experiences might not be at a game company, they could be relevant skills that work in the game company. Having experience that offers similar skill sets can be helpful. So if you work at a job that's not games, but it's kind of like games where you're doing graphic design, or you're doing programming, or you're doing writing or editing, or QA, or team-based projects, these are the soft skills that employers look for, because they're not just looking for somebody who can make art. They're looking for somebody who has the soft skills too, which is self-management, being able to hit deadlines, being able to work with a team and communicate with people and work together to create something that's greater than they are. Yes?
What's QA?
QA is quality assurance. Basically, testers. Yeah. So and I can go off about testers. Testers, it's great to get a job as a tester. If you get a job as a tester, does that necessarily mean that you're going to get a job in development? Not necessarily. Because yes, on the plus side, you do have a foot in the door of that company, and that's great. On the minus side, there tends to often be kind of a wall between testing and dev. And do people successfully scale that wall? Yes, they do, but not always. So it can be tough. It's not an automatic guarantee, but we can talk about that. But what you want to do is leverage skills that if you don't have game direct experience, leverage skills that are transferable to games. Whether it's these soft skills or knowing how to do what you want to do in games, even if it's for something else, that always does help. It can be helpful at any rate. Will you get a job based only on that? I don't know, maybe not. But but coupled with the other things on this list, it can definitely be helpful. Which brings us to number 4, which is make games. Here's the thing: people ask me a lot, well, how can I prove to an employer that I can make a game? Well, the best way to prove that you can make a game is by making a game. That's how you do it. And so that's the best way of doing it. So yes, this brings us to game jams. That's right. So this brings us to game jams, and it brings us to, because game jams are great. I highly recommend those because that's experience. You're learning how to make games. More than that, you're learning how to work with people who make games. And that's important because game development is a team building exercise. That's what, it's not sitting in your garage and making Pong or something. This is a team exercise. And learning how to work with other people to create a game is crucial. Another thing that you can do in terms of making games is, there are lots of game engines online now that you can just download for free. You've got Unity, you've got Unreal, Game Maker, I've got them listed here. You've got a bunch of stuff that you can use to just make a game. You could spend like a weekend and do your own personal little game jam. Now, does that mean that you have to make everything to make the game? Not necessarily. If you're an artist, do not use anyone else's art in your game, because you want to show what you can do, and so if they see that you're using stuff that you downloaded from the asset store, then they're going to be suspicious. So if you're an artist, make everything that you see in the game yours. But if you're not an artist, if it is, let's say you're a programmer and you've got some cool ideas for some features that you want to put in the game, just go download Unity, go to the asset store, download a bunch of art, and then just program your features and show them off in a video. This goes right back to the demo reel, because if you can make a game, then you make a demo reel highlighting that game and showing off your features, because that's what the demo reel is all about. It's showing off what you can do. As I said before, it's a commercial that advertises you, and so it's always good to have one. So if you want to prove to people that you can make a game, make a game.
Do you have any specific game jams that you can shout out as being like good for networking, or that you've gone to and enjoyed in the past?
This logged out. I'm sorry. Bad ears.
Do you
Pass the
have any
warranty.
specific game jams that you recommend or have gone to in the past?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. Now that I hear what it is, yes, I do not have a game jam off the top of my head that I could suggest, but there are. But oh, wait. What's the one coming up? There's one coming up. Global Game Jam. That's right. Global Game Jam is a great one to start with. Check that out. And from there, you can branch out to others. I wish I had a list with me. I should remember to do that next time. Yes.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
I'm sorry. I know. I don't. I usually take Q&A at the end, but I do want to get
There's a
questions
list
when
of
you have them.
game jams you go to on itch.io if you want to look around for like game jams or anywhere
Oh, right.
on there.
Yeah. itch.io is terrific.
Itch.io.
itch.io. Yeah, if you haven't heard of that before, check that out. It's a great source for independent gaming. Check it out. It's great. Okay, so we talked about demo reels and we talked about portfolios, but what makes a great portfolio? You don't want to ever underestimate the power of a good portfolio, because a portfolio speaks for you. It is your representative online. It represents you, and it's selling you, but much like the demo reel does. So what is a good portfolio? Well, it's your online business card. Think of it that way. An online portfolio is like your business card. It's the best way to network. You can just give them your URL, and they can just go and check out your stuff. But it's more than just a repository of things. We'll talk about that because it's also your advocate. It represents you to a potential employer. It speaks on your behalf, and so you want to make it represent you well. It's your own personal TV commercial. It advertises your skills, shows off what you can do. There are lots of different types of portfolios. Now, as an artist, of course, I talk about art first because I'm incredibly biased. So art portfolios. There are different types of art portfolios or different types of jobs in game art that you can consider. There's 2D concept art. There's sprite work, which I don't have on here, but I should. There's 3D modeling. There's animation. There's environment art. Visual effects. People are always looking for VFX artists. And technical art. You want to look for something that's got that has job stability. Being a technical artist. The technical artist, if you don't know what that does, the technical artist is essentially the liaison between the art team and the programming team. And they're the ones who build the tools that help you convert the art to game assets that can be used in the engine. And so that's always in demand. So there are different types of art that you can consider. That said, for design, for game design portfolios. There are lots of different types of that as well. You've got level design, and you've got narrative design, content design. You've got the game writer. That's the narrative. You've got systems design. You've got technical design. Anything that actually is the blueprint for what that game is, and why, and what makes that game fun, which is the essential element of any game. You want it to be fun. You want it to be engaging. The designer does that, and there are lots of different ways in which they do. There's programming portfolio. There's programming jobs, and you can gear your portfolio to any of these specifics, like engine programming or tools, as I mentioned before, UI design, sound, creating. Creating mechanics to get the sound to get the sound working the way it needs to, or get the UI to do specific things. There's AI. Now, here when I mention AI, I'm not talking about generative AI here. I'm talking about enemy behavior, combat. That sort of thing, or networking. Networking is, this is one of those things that does translate from non-game jobs into the game industry. I had a friend of mine who was a programmer who worked on a game with me, and he came into the game industry from database programming. And database programming, it became essential for. It became essential for multiplayer games, for online games. This kind of thing, these kind of skills can translate, and this is the kind of stuff that you want to put in your portfolio. If you're looking for a specific type of programming, show off the skills necessary to get one of these kinds of jobs. All right. So let's talk about what makes a portfolio good. Now, the first thing that you want to do is aim high. Now, as much as it pains me to say it, because I am by nature, not the competitive type, but looking for a job is competitive. You're competing. You're trying to get a job that other people are also trying to get, and so you want to aim high. Look online and find other people who are looking for jobs like you have, who have portfolios similar to the skill sets you've got, and compare and learn from them. Find out what your competition is doing, and then aim higher. Shoot beyond them. Go through your portfolio and find your weakest link. This is important because you will be judged on your worst piece. And even if your worst piece is, it's not bad, but it's the worst piece in your portfolio. And this is true. A lot of employers will look at your portfolio, find the piece that's the weakest, and they will assume that that's probably what you're going to give them most days. And so that's what they're going to assume. So make sure, and this is where the competition comes in. And I know this might be disheartening to say, but find your weakest link and replace it with something that is better than the best of the other guys. Because you want your portfolio, you want your weakest stuff in your portfolio to be better than the stuff in the other portfolios. And so you want to strive for quality, and we'll talk about that as to whether or not that's how to think about things in those terms. We'll talk about that, but find your weakest link and be aware of what it says to the employer. And make it memorable. This is big. Employers plow through sometimes hundreds of samples. So don't be forgotten. Imagine this. Imagine this scenario. This guy is going through all of these. He's got hundreds. He's trying to place somebody in a team, and he's going through hundreds of portfolios. And he just finished going through them, and he gets up and he walks into the break room to get a cup of coffee, and somebody else comes in and says, "Hey, Joe, I understand you're looking at all these portfolios. You're looking for somebody to fill that slot. Did you see anything interesting?" And he's going to say, "Yeah, I saw this one. It was really cool. It did this, and it was really neat. You want that to be you. You want to be the guy be the person that he thinks of first and says, yeah, I did see this one cool thing. You want that to be you. And so that's your goal with your portfolio, is to be remembered so that they know who you are. And that makes them want to go back and maybe contact you. So let's talk about some key elements. Key, get it? Key elements. I don't know. I don't know if you got that. I am such a nerd. So some key elements. So first off, a variety of styles. Show that you're versatile and show that you're adaptable. Step outside your comfort zone. That's important. Versatility and I was about to say adaptility. That's not a word. But versatility and adaptation, being able to be flexible, that's important. You want to, because there are lots of different types of games, and you want to be able to be plug and play whenever possible. Also, have a focus. Now, I do realize that this sounds like it contradicts the previous point I just made, but it is often best, even though you want to be flexible, you want to be adaptable, you also want to, it's often best to highlight a particular discipline. So because you want to think about what kind of discipline you want to use, you want to have, think about what kind of job, let's see, you're in the industry, what kind of job do you want to do? Are you going to get up in the morning every day, go into work, sit down and do for 8 to 10 hours a day, for the next several years? What is it that's going to be fascinating enough to you that you're really going to enjoy doing, that you feel that you have a good skill set for? And then make that your focus. You say, this is what I do best. I also do this other stuff too, by the way. I can do lots of other different things, but this one's my wheelhouse. So it's good to have a focus, even though you want to be adaptable. Also, presentation. I cannot emphasize this enough. You want to make your portfolio website, and when I'm talking about portfolio websites, it's always a good idea to have your own website. Just go and create your own website. I mean, ArtStation's great. But ArtStation is ArtStation, and it's not yours. So if anything happened, if ArtStation went down, or if it went out of vogue or something like that, you want to have something that's yours that you can fall back on. So I always recommend that people have their own, they have their own website, joesmith.com. And use that as the URL. Not Joe Smith specifically, but your name, your first name, last name.com, to make it easy for them to find you, because that's important. When you want to be found, so you want to be easy to be found. But in terms of a website that you put together to show off your work, you want it to be clean and simple and easy to navigate. Because video games are a visual medium, and when employers are looking for people to work in video games, they're going to look at, again, as I said before, they're looking at the soft skills as well as the hard skills. So if your website doesn't make sense, if it's all over the place and it's hard to navigate, you don't know what you're looking at, you have to dig like 4 or 5 or 6 links down just to find something, they're going to be turned off by that, because they want someone working on their games who understands UX, which is the user experience. They want someone who understands that, and if your website doesn't reflect that, they think that you're not going to be able to make a good game for them. So make sure that your website is clean and easy to navigate. There's something called the 10-second rule. Sometimes it's called the 5-second rule, sometimes it's the 30-second rule, but generally it's the 10-second rule, and it does not involve dropping food on the floor. That's not the one. That's not the one. The 10-second rule is basically when an employer is going through a pack of portfolios, they are generally going to give you about 10 seconds to make your pitch. And if they don't see what they're looking for in those 10 seconds, they're just going to drop it and move on to the next one because they're busy. They got a lot of things they got to go through. And so that's generally how it's going to work. So keep the 10-second rule in mind that as soon as they get on your website, grab them by the lapels and pull them in as hard as you can. And the best way to do this is to start at the top of your homepage. Boom, demo reel. And that's a commercial, and it shows off your stuff. And then they navigate down the homepage, and you've got clickable images. Remember, video games, whether you're an audio engineer or a programmer or an artist, whatever, visuals, because it's a visual medium. And so you have images on your homepage that are clickable, and each one represents your skills. And then you click on it, and you go in, and you can see demonstrations, examples of your skills. Because you want to think about your portfolio, and we're going to talk about interviews in a second, but you want to think about portfolios as it's like a court. It's like you're in a court, and your portfolio is your attorney, and they're representing you, and they are they make claims, and then you have to back up those claims with physical evidence, and that's what your portfolio does. Your portfolio is the evidence that demonstrates that your claims are accurate, that you can do what you're telling them that you can do. And you can prove it by clicking on this link and seeing this cool stuff. And that's how you want to think about your portfolio. It's evidence. And so you want to arrange it in a way that narrates your story, the story of your skills. As I said, it's not just a repository of stuff. It's not just a place to dump things and say, here's a bunch of stuff, look at it. No, you're telling a story with your portfolio. You're telling the story, your backstory, essentially. You're telling your backstory with your portfolio. It is the story of you. And so you want to tell them, you say, I can do this. And then here's the evidence that proves I can do it. So presentation is important. Give it an aesthetic layout. Make it pleasant looking. And always show your best work, like I said before. All right, so now the interview. Let's say, your portfolio made a compelling case. They contact you, and they bring you in for the interview. Well, your portfolio is not finished yet, because you can still use the portfolio in the interview process. It's not done yet. And so, because an interview is a pitch, and when you think about it in those terms, you're selling the employer on the idea of hiring you. So use your portfolio as evidence to support your responses as you tell the story of your experience, as you're sitting in the interview and they're asking you questions. And interviews, people get intimidated by interviews. Don't be intimidated by interviews. Here's the thing. The thing about interviews is that this is just an employer. They have an idea in their head of what they're looking for, and they want to know if that idea is you. They want to know if you match what they're looking for. And so an interview is all about asking you questions, if you think of it, because I think of things in terms of art, you can think about this as painting your portrait. Every question that an employer asks you is another brushstroke that gives them a clear picture of who you are. But just remember, you're doing some painting yourself because you're also interviewing them. And that's something that people don't concentrate on much, is that it goes both ways. You want to make sure that they're the right employer to fit you. And so the two of you are sitting down and talking, and you're saying, I can do this. Can you do this? We need someone who can do this kind of thing. How are you at that? And you say, I can do that. That's great. I do that all day. That's fantastic. Here, as a matter of fact, let me show you. And that's where your portfolio comes in, because you can use it as a jumping off point, helping you to make a smooth transition into a conversation about what your skill sets are and how you might be able to help them. And that's the way to approach it. But there's something you want to remember. What if there's no signal? What if you go into the interview and I can't get online? What if something happens? Disaster, right? Well, no, actually. The thing is, do not assume that there will always be accessible Wi-Fi. Do not assume that you'll always be able to get online. You never know. Maybe they're in a bunker or something. Who knows? But for one reason or another, something could happen. So it's recommended that you have an offline backup and use that instead of showing them your online portfolio in the interview process. Have an offline version. Make a PDF with your stuff in it. It's something that you can bring up on a tablet and show them. I recommend a tablet. If you have a tablet, that's the best situation to show off your stuff in the interview. Have a tablet, because a phone is too small. It's not as professional. It's kind of goofy. Yeah, it's right here. If you zoom in, you can see it. No, it's not ideal. On the other hand, a laptop is just too big and clunky. Handing that over to somebody, it's not easy to work with. A tablet is the best of both worlds. It's just big enough that you can see stuff, but it's easy to maneuver, and it's probably the best situation. So if you go in with an offline version of your portfolio with your stuff, and you can just say, yes, as a matter of fact, I can do that. I have a lot of experience in that. Here, take a look. This is how I made this. And you can just show it to them. That is when that way you are able to present evidence on the fly and convince them that you are the person that they've been looking for. So, all right. And the most important thing of all is patience. Now, looking for a job in the game industry is a marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And and I do know that it doesn't always work the first time. Maybe not even work the first few times. But do not get discouraged. Just remember to always think about the value that you bring to a game, and don't be disheartened if it doesn't work right the first time, because just like with everything else, just like with any other skill set that you have, it requires practice, and you get better every time you do it. You get better with every interview. You get better with every version of your portfolio. And this is absolutely true. Nobody gets worse through practice. So always remember that. I tell that to my students all the time. Nobody gets worse through practice. So don't worry if it doesn't work right away. This is a long-term marathon. So be patient. Because, and I want you to remember that a career is about progression. Every time you do this, you're leveling up. You're getting better at it all the time. And so you're leveling up, and every attempt is in the right direction. So just remember, and this is one thing I want to leave you with. This is an idea that I think does help people feel a little bit more encouraged. If you can imagine in your head right now, somebody who does the kind of thing that you want to do for a living and does it really well, somebody that you admire, just remember that person, the person who's really great at this, started where you are right now. At one point, they were you, every single one of them, without exception. And that's an encouraging thought, because it means that if you feel that you don't really, you're just starting out and you're at zero and you don't really know if you're ever going to go anywhere. They felt that way too at one time or another, and they were at zero. And so you can level up and you can move forward, and just keep that in mind. Keep that as a focus, and hopefully that'll be encouraging. Just remember, every attempt is in the right direction. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Hi, if you have any questions, can you come up, stand right here to make it easier?
I've been distracted.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to ask, because you mentioned that you started in the comic industry. For people that have other interests like comic and music and stuff, in your experience, what are some spaces where the skill sets or people between industries intersect with the game industry?
So in which comics and games intersect?
For example.
Right. For example.
Yeah.
Do you mean in terms of spaces? Do you mean specific industries, or do you mean just?
Sure. I guess in general, you could think about it in terms of like East, West Coast, whatever, but also, I guess, communities in general.
Oh yes, yeah, and there's a lot of crossover when it comes to anything that is storytelling and interactive. There is always a crossover, if you think about it, people that I've known in the game industry who have had successful careers in games have come from comics, like myself, or tabletop games. A lot of people who are doing narrative design for video games started doing tabletop. People come from. People come from just writing backgrounds. People come from mainstream programming. There is a lot of crossover in terms of skill sets. It's a pretty complex Venn diagram with video games in the center, and and that's probably the best part of it. The best part of it is that the video game industry is unique in that it is a combination of like 100 different types of disparate skill sets that all come together to make a game. Not only left brain, but right brain, creative as well as technical. There's an anecdote, if you're interested in hearing it. There's an anecdote. I've got a friend of mine who worked at Northrop Grumman, and he was doing software to build aircrafts. To build aircrafts for the government, and he was creating software to create the machines that make the aircraft. And he said to me once, he said, I love video games. They're great. They're terrific. But there's something that's always kind of bugged me about video games. It just seems kind of pretentious. You guys, we have project managers. The project manager is the one who manages the project, and we make software. You guys also make software, but your project managers are called producers. And he was just, and he was like, that just seems so pretentious. And so he said, why do you do that? Why do you call yourselves producers? And when you're doing software development just like we are. And I said, well, yes, we are, but there's more to it than that. When it comes to video games, what we're doing is we're basically creating Hollywood in a bottle. Because yes, we have software developers, we have programmers, we have a lot of the technical stuff that goes into software development, and we overlap in that instance. But we also have set designers. We've got costumers. We've got actors. We've got lighting, cameras. Basically, it's we are Hollywood in like a 20-person dev team, and so yes, in those terms, because we're telling a story and we're trying to work with people's emotions and we're trying to create an adventure. We are absolutely the person who runs it would absolutely be a producer, just like in Hollywood, because that's the overlap. That's one of my favorite things about games in general, is that it's left brain and right brain. It's technical and creative coming together and fusing. And I really don't know if I've answered your question in all of that, but I hopefully it's in there somewhere.
The passion was there.
Okay, good.
Quick question. So you mentioned earlier that your friend was working as a software developer and then came over. My question is, as someone that's looking to basically change careers, I am a software developer mainly in web. So I'm trying to make that transition. However, the LinkedIn situation can look kind of like weird with that. Would you say leverage more your portfolio and that way versus like changing over your LinkedIn? Because it's kind of like this Jekyll and Hyde thing.
No, you're right. You're right. And if you feel like your resume, your LinkedIn resume, if you feel like your resume is not strong enough, then you want to bolster that with the portfolio. So I would say show some evidence that you can take what you've learned in the career you have now and adapt it to games. Making a game would be a great example. Sure.
So you mentioned earlier there was overlap with Hollywood. I've been working in the film industry for a couple of years now, and I'm looking to make a career change because I kind of hate it now. Do you think with games becoming more and more cinematic, do you think there's a bigger overlap between Hollywood and video game development?
Yes, there's something that people have been talking about for years called the Great Convergence. And that's the moment when all of the entertainment, all the disparate entertainment fields come together, and you basically end up with interactive movies. And we're coming closer to that all the time. So yes, no, absolutely. I think that because games are becoming, as you said, increasingly cinematic, we are getting closer to what we're doing as interactive films. How many people here have played Dispatch? See, now there's an example of a game that is telling a story through a game, and it's a complete narrative all the way through, and it feels very cinematic, like an animated film that you can interact in. But yeah, so absolutely, I do believe that it's moving in that direction, and I think that you could definitely, transfer your skills over.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. For those of us out here that are looking to revamp our portfolios and kind of just get a good jump from the start, obviously there's a lot of components to it, like the art, the cybersecurity, the hosting, like all that stuff. Provided we don't have a huge network and know our local like web professional in the area, is there anything you would suggest for like the harder parts other than art of web development, like a specific service? Or how you would host, or do you not have many thoughts about that, or just like whatever works best?
Oh, I think that most, in terms of hosting your portfolio, you mean, I think that most web hosts are pretty agnostic about it, and you can use pretty much any one of them. Got it. You could. I do understand that. Well, I use WordPress. WordPress is good. Wix is very good. But pretty much any web service would do the job as long as you have a template that will allow you to show off your work.
I recommend almost free speech. It's really good.
Hello.
Hello.
I have three things. First of all, thank you so much for your session. I'm a senior in a game design program, and everything that you have taught here is something my program director used to like really feed us on for the past 4 years. So these things are really helpful.
Oh, that's great.
And I want to add on it about practicing. One thing that I do want to add is practice doesn't necessarily make you perfect. Practice makes habit. Like for example, if you've been cooking your pasta for like 10 minutes your whole life, you're not perfect at making pasta. You're perfect at making pasta the wrong way. So it's really important to practice it right, and that's why mentorship is really important. That's why I want to kind of like shout out to this resource. I could not find it on my phone right now, but I swear I had it. Someone on X, Twitter, has a spreadsheet of list of freelance artists who have willingly put down their contact information, who are willing to review your art portfolio. So it exists somewhere online, but I can't find it.
Oh, that's awesome. No, yeah, it's always, I always recommend that. You want to have your portfolio beta tested. You want to have independent eyes on it so that you can get an unbiased, impartial opinion as to whether or not it's effective, because you've been looking at it for too long. And so it's always a good idea.
Sorry, but moving to my question would be, now that I'm a senior going into industry and having mentors also, one thing I've noticed is it's really competitive, especially because of layoffs. Now you have AAA devs who are looking for jobs too. All of a sudden, a senior, just graduating fresh into the industry, I'm competing with experienced people in the same pool. So how do I or anyone in that same bridge tackle that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It can be. Yeah, particularly, no, you're absolutely right. With when it comes to looking for work right now, because of all the layoffs and because it hasn't been a great couple of years, the competition is fierce, and you are up. But if you're going up against experienced game devs, they might be working in a completely different level, and so getting your foot in the door, you're probably not competing directly with them because you're looking for something that's introductory. And so that might be better. But that said, some of the things that I'd mentioned back here, where was it?
It's the domination panel.
Right. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. I had one of these. Game adjacent skill sets. All of these things. Demonstrate your skills with games. Leverage the skill set that you do have that you've achieved elsewhere into games, and show them how you can take your skills and make them game related. And work with your online brand and networking. Networking is key because people have always said it's not so much what you know as it is who you know, and to a certain extent that is true. Not always, because I do believe in the value of skill sets, but knowing somebody, networking, and working your way in that way is always a good avenue.
And this will be our last question before we end the panel.
If I wanted to practice my game animation, and I can't afford something like 3ds Max or Maya, is there a software you recommend to practice on?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, I've been using 3ds Max for 30 years. I've been using it since it launched. I know. Again, that dates me, but I've been using it for a long time. But I've just recently taught myself Blender, and so I recommend Blender. It is actually an awesome program. It's easy to learn. It's very powerful, and it's open source, which means it will always be free. So try Blender. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Mm-hmm. All right, thank you very much, everybody. If you have any other questions, feel free to come up, and come up and talk to me. But thank you, everybody, for being here.